to No Recipe Required. I'm Dave, and I am super excited tonight because we're doing a dish that blew my socks off the first time I made it. This is kind of an Italian porchetta dish. Now, the recipe, I've looked it up. Like, porchetta is made a few different ways. Almost always, well, I think it is always pork. Porchetta, pork. What I'm going to do is use a pork loin and pork belly. Now, for those who don't know, pork belly is the, obviously the underside of the pig. That's the cut of meat that they get bacon off of. It is, it's fairly fatty, but it is super flavorful. I'm going to take the pork loin, we'll season it, we'll throw some herbs on there, and then I'm going to wrap the pork belly actually around it. So it's like pork wrapped pork, right? Absolutely delicious. We're going to sear it off, then bake it until it is cooked to perfection. You slice it, we'll do a little juice or a little pan sauce with it, and you are going to love it. I know I'm going to love it. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, we're going to make a little paste for our pork by adding about 2 tablespoons of butter, maybe a tablespoon and a half. This is roasted garlic. That is super easy to make. And then herbs. You can add almost any herbs you want. I'm adding sage and rosemary, about a tablespoon each. And then about 2 tablespoons of parsley. And I'm just going to let that butter melt down. And I'm literally just going to take kind of my wooden spoon and mash up that roasted garlic and make this into a nice paste. Okay, I've got everything pretty well smashed up. Doesn't have to be super fine or anything like that. You just want it broken up. A little bit of heat is going to bring out all the flavors. That was the zest from a lemon. I'm just going to work that in and then transfer this into a little plate to hold. Okay, so super excited. I've got pork belly right here. Now it's obviously a huge piece of pork belly. I asked my butcher to cut it a particular size. The particular size is the size of a pork loin. So this is pork belly, this is a pork loin, and we're actually going to wrap the pork loin in the belly. So, like I said, what I did, I asked the butcher to cut it roughly that size. Now I pounded it out a little bit as well, just to kind of get it as consistently thick as I can everywhere. And then I've just taken a little paring knife and done little pockets kind of all throughout, not all the way deep, but kind of halfway through. Now I've got our herb and garlic mixture. To this, I'm also going to add the zest of an orange, just because fruit and pork, that kind of essence goes super well together. I'm going to lay my herbs down on my pork belly. Now when you stuff like this or you wrap like this, it's awesome because you got multiple places where we can season. In this case, we're going to do kind of the inside of the pork belly. You know what? I'm going to spread out that herb first. And I'm not looking for a, solid layer or anything like that. I just want to get it kind of spread out, and I'm pushing down as well. And just little bits of that garlic and herb are going to go and seep into those pockets. I should tell you, I scored the pork belly. Same kind of technique, kind of half or quarter way down, right through like that. And again, all of those little holes and slits are going to be little flavor pockets. So I've spread my herb and garlic around. We're going to take the opportunity to season with a little bit of, not a little bit, we got a huge piece of meat here, so we're going to use a good amount of salt and fresh ground black pepper. And then what we're going to do is drop that pork loin right in the center. Kaboom. Now, you know what? I'm going to drop it on, I'll drop it on that side. So now, we're literally just going to lift it up, roll it up on itself like a jelly roll. And as we get to this side, you're going to see it kind of wraps. I just want it big enough to wrap right on top of itself. I also, on this side of the pork belly, you can see this is the fatty side. So fatty side is the outside. I've also scored this both ways. I'm going to leave the roast on its seam side, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and take some handy dandy string and just slide it under the belly, then tie, probably every inch or so. We're going to tie another rope around just so it's all nicely tied together. Then we're going to come back, season the outside, pop it in the oven. Okay, so we've got our pork roast now tied up. You want to make sure you salt all over, salt and pepper. And if you want, what I'm using is actually a fennel, ground fennel rub, which I'm going to lay, and easiest way to do it is just kind of get in there with your hands, rotate around. If you see any places that really aren't scored like they should be, definitely take your knife and just go ahead and score them, because that's going to help render out the fat and make this roast absolutely delish. And then once you've got it kind of fully seasoned all over, we're going to pop this into a 500-degree oven for about half an hour. By the way, you can do this. You can do what we've done here, several hours in advance. But we're going to pop it into 500-degree oven. Let that skin kind of caramelize and crisp down, render down a little bit, and then we're going to turn the heat back to about 300, and then let it roast off for a few hours. Okay, so my roast here has been going for 30 minutes. Like I said, about 500. I cheated. I did like 480 or so. I just took it out solely to show you what it looks like. That skin, you can see where we scored it, starting to pull away as the fat renders out, which is exactly what we're looking to do. And that caramelization, the rendering is exactly what we wanted to start with, that high heat. I've dropped my oven. I think I said 300 before. I dropped it down to 280, and I'm going to stick this back in and just let it go nice and slow for what's probably going to be like 3 hours. I'm going to stick a meat thermometer in there, and I want the internal temperature to get up to about 155, 160. It needs to go to at least 140. Okay, so about 2 hours into the cooking, I added some chicken stock to my roasting pan, and that's going to turn into our sauce. But the roast, nice and brown. You can see the caramelized, edges, bits. If yours isn't quite there, just go ahead and crank the oven up to like 450, 500 degrees. Let it go for another 10 minutes or so, and it'll get that way. I cooked mine for like 4 hours, 4.5 hours after that initial heat for about a 250-degree oven. Internal temperature is about 160. You gotta let it rest from here. Okay, so after the roast is rested, take a serrated knife. That's kind of the best. Cut through it into nice kind of half-inch, inch slices. You can see we've got that pork loin in the middle, surrounded by the pork belly. Serve it up. Let me move this. I already got a couple pieces plated up beautifully. Maybe with a baked potato or whatever other side dishes you want. Some asparagus I've got waiting. A little bit of our pan drippings that I've just thickened with some cornstarch, and you are good to go with this awesome porchetta. I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required.